everyone's favorite unelected jerks delivered us a nice surprise. The Supreme Court on Tuesday lifted a judge's order preventing the Trump administration from conducting mass layoffs across the federal bureaucracy for now. The court, in its unsigned ruling, said Trump's February executive order directing federal agencies to prepare for reduction in force is likely lawful. It enables federal agencies to resume implementing Trump's directive, though the High Court left the door open for plaintiffs to challenge any agency-specific plan down the road. We express no view on the legality of any agency, RIF, and reorganization plan produced or approved pursuant to the executive order and memorandum, the court's ruling cautions, but for now, it marks a major victory for the administration, which has brought a flurry of emergency appeals to the Supreme Court seeking to halt lower judge injunctions. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented, calling the court's decision hubristic and senseless. She criticized her colleagues for second-guessing the lower judge from the court's lofty perch, far from the facts or the evidence. In my view, this was the wrong decision at the wrong moment, especially given what little this court knows about what is actually happening on the ground, Jackson wrote. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, one of the court's Democratic-appointed justices who often dissents alongside Jackson, said she agreed with some of her concerns, but Sotomayor sided with the administration at this stage in the case. The plans themselves are not before this court at this stage, and we thus have no occasion to consider whether they can and will be carried out consistent with the constraints of law. I join the court's stay because it leaves the district court free to consider those questions in the first instance, Sotomayor wrote. The order lifts a May 22nd injunction issued by San Francisco-based U.S. District Judge Susan Ilsen, an appointee of former President Clinton, that indefinitely halted efforts to conduct RIFs at more than a dozen federal departments and agencies. He did so by finding Trump's executive order was likely unlawful and required congressional authority. Agencies are being prevented and have been since the district court issued its temporary restraining order a month ago from taking needed steps to make the federal government and workforce more efficient, Solicitor General D. John Suh wrote to the Supreme Court. Absent intervention from the court, that intolerable state of affairs promises to endure for months. The judge's injunction comes in response to a lawsuit brought by labor unions, advocacy groups, and local governments, urging the Supreme Court to keep the judge's ruling in place, warning the president will otherwise implement a breakneck reorganization of the federal government before the merits of the case are settled. There will be no way to unscramble that egg if the court ultimately deemed the president to have overstepped his authority and intrude upon that of Congress. As a practical matter, there will be no way to go back in time to restore those agencies' functions and services, their attorneys wrote in filings. Well, I feel like all we do is just sit here and read stuff that's disappointing. So, I expected the Trump appointed judges, along with the, just the right-wing leaning ones, whether it's Clarence Thomas, whatever, to side with anything that the administration wants to do, including removing a bunch of people overnight from these different agencies to supposedly boost effectiveness. But man, watching Sotomayor spin a nice little web is just, it's sad. When they wrote in that message to the Supreme Court, if he turns out to be doing something that is unlawful, that is damaging, that requires congressional authority, that is being bypassed, which we've seen presidents do with their illegal wars, for example, overseas, there's going to be no way of turning back the clock and restoring things to the way it was before. Are you going to have these people get rehired? Are they going to be compensated for the weeks or months that they weren't? I mean, it's ludicrous. But just like how when in Brown's comments, or rather in what she wrote, her dissent, she mentioned that they don't know what's going on the ground. That's true. These pricks in suits and ties and dresses and gowns, sitting together as a little group of 9, have no idea what it's like to work somewhere and then get an email saying you got to clear out of here in 30 days or a week, because we're trying to meet this arbitrary metric. So it's just another reminder that in the United States, if you work at one of these agencies and do your job properly, you run the risk of getting laid off or gotten rid of anytime they feel like it. But if you break laws in 4 different states and incite an insurrection, you have a good chance of being elected president of the United States for a non-consecutive second time.